Welcome to Block by Block with Zach, brought to us by Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada. I'm Zach Shellhammer, and we're broadcasting from the NHSSN studio in downtown Las Vegas, episode 2. Joining me today is Terri Castillo, principal of Harvey and Dondero Elementary School, right here in Las Vegas. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. I'm so excited to be guest number 2.
Yes, welcome, and thank you for being guest number 2. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. As when I saw that it was World Teacher Day coming up on October 5th, all I could think of was you'd be the perfect person.
Oh, thank you. I'm humbled. That is very humbling. I appreciate that.
Because we were working a lot with you. NHSSN has this last couple months with Dondero and yourself. We did some amazing things, like a teacher give back. And then some exciting things are coming up that we'll announce later. So you have to stay tuned for the exciting news. Yes, not until later. But first, I just wanted to get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with education, because you are a school principal.
I am. So exciting.
How does that happen?
You'll get my whole story.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So I want to thank you for the teacher giveaway at the beginning of the school year. The teachers still talk about it.
Awesome.
And just so amazing.
That's
such a
so
wonderful
cool.
thing to see their faces light up and just get them supplies that they will need. So my journey, it's a long one. I am so excited that I've just started my 24th year in education.
Wow.
All of my years proudly served right here in Clark County.
Wow.
So I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. I am an East Coast farm girl.
God, I'm from Pennsylvania too. Allentown.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm from Milton.
Get up.
About an hour north of Harrisburg.
Wow.
So near Lewisburg, my mom worked at Bucknell University. That whole area. That's funny.
That's why we get along. Okay.
And so I went to college at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey. So right outside of New York City. I was ready to enjoy the city. And so I actually had a double major in Spanish and political science.
Wow.
So education was nowhere on my radar. I thought I was going into international relations, going to be an ambassador, change the world. So I relocated to Las Vegas in 1998. I was working on my master's degree in Spanish, actually. And, starving college student, I was living off of my grad school stipend. And I had this idea. I thought, well, I'm fluent in Spanish. I bet I could just sub for the school district in high school Spanish classes, earn a little extra money. So I called the school district and just chatting with them. And they said, wait a second, you already have your you already have your bachelor's degree. I said, well, I have 2. And you're bilingual. I said, yep, one of them is in Spanish. And at that point, they were piloting a program called the Alternative Route to Licensure, ARL, which is still... it's an alternative pathway to licensure, which is still in effect here today.
Okay, cool.
I would think I was cohort 5. That's
wow.
how long I've been doing this. And it was for bilingual education. So back then they still had bilingual classrooms where you would teach the kids first in Spanish, in this case, in their native language, and then they would transition little by little into the English language as far as education fully into English. And so they said, if you are willing to give 3 years commitment, then we will put you through the master's program and we'll pay for it.
Awesome.
So at that point, that was kind of a no-brainer.
I'll take it.
And so now it's been 24 years.
Wow.
So I was a classroom teacher.
You started as a teacher in Spanish or any specific subject?
So I believe I've always done ESL. My whole career has mostly been Title I schools, high bilingual population.
Got it.
So I did the actual bilingual classrooms for about 3 or 4 years, and they would the district kind of transition to the ESL model. But I've always taught the ESL kids.
Awesome.
So I was a classroom teacher for 10 years. I taught kinder, first, and 5th grade specifically. Then I spent another 8 years in different roles, learning strategist. I supported some grants here in the district, the Striving Readers. So I was a literacy coach in high needs areas. I worked with the Zoom initiative. I ran reading centers for EL students. So exciting. And then from there, I transitioned into administration. So I was appointed as the assistant principal at Ortwine Elementary School over in Southern Highlands. We opened up that one. To start my administrative career on that high note was amazing. I was there for 2.5 years, and then I was appointed as a principal at Dondero, and that's where I currently am.
So you didn't expect to get into this. So this wasn't exactly like your passion that you were like, oh my God, let me be into teaching. So did you fell in love with it as you went in? Yes.
I am not going to lie. It is hard.
It looks really hard.
And especially when I had no background in it, right? But I will tell you, it was the kids and the families. And I always joke that I have guardian angels all around me. Because when you were literally thrown into the classroom in that situation, which is good. It's on the job teaching, but I was always surrounded with people that just kind of pulled me along and said, this is how we do it.
And that was 20 years ago-ish. You've seen technology change so much in the classroom. And is it better or worse?
Double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
We've done some amazing things with technology. And I think the pandemic really brought that out.
Yeah.
We were forced literally overnight to transition to a technological platform.
Got it.
So the things that we were able to accomplish and that we've continued to implement are amazing. The other side of that comes with how entrenched kids then got in social media and, some of the more dicey parts that comes along with that.
Exactly.
So I feel like it's just a lot.
Always, that's technology. Double-edged sword all the way.
It really is.
All the way. And you started out thinking you were going to change the world in one way, and here you are changing the world in another way.
Thank you. I hope I am.
Well, I always said when I was really small child, I was going to be a teacher. Yeah. And I thought school teacher, but I just turned out to be more like a real estate coach, consultant, teacher in different ways. So we all end up doing our own thing. But as they say, you're manifesting for one thing, but it's really just the end result that you get. And that's what happens.
And it's so funny. And I remember just thinking about that, I kind of think all the signs were there all along.
Right.
I remember when I was growing up, my parents loved antiques. And I remember they had an old desk, with that you would slide into and the top would flip up, the old hard
like the roller
wood.
thing.
Yes. And I remember for hours just sitting there playing teacher and and it's that kind of popped back into my mind. A couple of weeks ago when I was thinking about this, I thought, oh my gosh, it's always there. And my high school Spanish teacher was one of my main influences, I think, in me going in to learn Spanish, but just the way she taught. Also had such a great influence in me overall. So I think the signs were always there.
It's good to know that kids still, from the outside looking in, it looks like kids want to learn less, but is that true? They really are open and willing?
They do.
Awesome.
And I feel like even being back in the classroom, I know, me too, right? Coming back after the pandemic, kids were in these little boxes on computer screens for almost 2 years, right? It was very disconnecting and divisive. So coming back, we were all kind of wondering that. Exactly. And I've gotten to sub in classrooms, a lot of classrooms this year,
cool.
with,
I guess that's both.
Filling in. I know.
That's cool and not. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
But I love it. I will always be a teacher. The classroom is one of my favorite places. And there is such a thirst. The kids they want to learn.
I love that.
I do too.
And you're in elementary, so what grades does that go up to? Is it like kinder to what?
So we're actually pre-K.
Okay.
Pre-K through 5th grade.
Awesome. That's an important time. Really important time. So that's awesome. But that does lead us, since you're subbing and principaling, I wanted to ask what teachers need as with the neighborhood housing give back. We basically, for those who weren't with us at the time, we surprised your teachers with a give back. As usually we're raising school supplies. A lot of people get school supplies and stuff for kids and the parents. But this time we went out and did it directly for the teachers. And I had learned through that the statistic was that teachers spent about $800 out of pocket. This is the highest year ever for school supplies to help their kids. Yeah. And we always knew that school teachers did that, but that's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's one of our CB&E residents said that's a lot of good outfits that they could have been buying for school. And I think that a lot of people would or should ask why. Why are teachers spending the money? Clearly, that leads to the question of what are they lacking and why. Yeah. Tell me a bit about. That's a big question, but yes. What
it is a big question. It's a great question to ask, though. And having been in the classroom for 10 years, I did it myself.
Right.
And I feel like It was needs. It was supplies, right?
Right.
There's never there was never enough copy paper or crayons, consumables, things that kids go through quickly. For the kinder classroom, those darn glue sticks that they seem to eat, right?
Fond memories.
I know. But just those things that would go through so quickly that schools maybe were not able to keep up with as far as supplies, because you're trying to invest money in, in people, in your manpower.
Got it.
Sometimes supplies take the back seat. Also curriculum. Sometimes teachers might have not felt like they didn't have what they needed to teach as far as books and lessons and things like that. And I remember teaching in bilingual classrooms. There were very, very few actual instructional materials in Spanish. So I was either creating my own things or looking to see what I could buy. And you're willing to do it, right?
Sure.
It's such a huge help.
Because you want to teach, so you're going to do what you got to do to teach.
Do what you gotta do. Exactly.
So is it the school does not get enough funds for the teachers? Is that where's the disconnect?
Traditionally, because it's all one, it all comes out of your budget. Your pay, your staffing, your supplies, everything out of your budget. And I feel like that kind of traditionally may have been the case. With the ESSER money, the COVID relief money that's come down, I'm pretty comfortable in saying we have pretty healthy budgets now. I am very, very hopeful that part will be taken care of. And also the last 3 years, the district, CCSD, has been investing in buying curriculum district-wide for teachers. So we have a math curriculum. We now have a science curriculum. This year, they rolled out our literacy, our reading curriculum. So they're buying those programs for us and training us to use them. So I am very, very hopeful that part of it will go away.
Good. And that's COVID relief money. So is that going to continue? Any thoughts on that?
Ends 2024.
Okay.
So we're in that kind of that last hurrah.
Well, give them a good example of what works. So hopefully they'll think about that.
I know. Fingers crossed.
Yes. What is the biggest challenge that teachers face today?
There are a few. The one thing I was kind of in my mind when I was driving here thinking, what is that one thing that I hear? And it's behavior. Kids coming back. We were offline for almost 2 years. So in that, it's kids were learning. They were logging on. They were giving it their efforts. The families were supportive. But you miss those learner behaviors that you just don't get when you're face to face in a classroom, right? That stamina. Working from sitting down and reading 5 minutes to 10 minutes. You need that coach right beside you.
Yes.
The stamina, the perseverance. When you get to that math problem that's really difficult, and having that coach and that cheerleader and that little guidance there to work to get you through it. Those things that just don't translate across a video screen, right? And so the behaviors have come. Kids went through a lot of trauma.
Wow.
Maybe that we don't see. I know that I have kids that have lost family members, that have lost houses, and family members have lost jobs. And even when we were online, being able to look into their homes and you see what their daily lives are like. It was very eye-opening. It really gave me anyway, a good perspective on what we really were dealing with. So the behaviors are different. So now teachers are trying to manage, find that balance between being now a therapist and an instructor.
Yes.
And I've had so many teachers come to me and say, Terri, I wasn't trained for this. And I said, you know what? I wasn't either, but we're gonna figure this out. So I have added a little extra support to my counseling staff. So now I have a school counselor. I have a safe school professional, formerly known as social workers. I created a position for a social emotional learning strategist. So just really adding in those extra supports because we're all learning together.
Yes.
This is not what they taught us in those education courses.
That's a good point. And leads me to think about it's just hard to be a human anyway.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Just to get out there, I know from in the workforce, just going from high school or college into quote real world, it's so hard to know how to function if we haven't been taught that. And just getting out and mingling and being social. We are social creatures, but not until it is like activated.
Yes.
And then there's that fear. And I'm sure, kids have the most fear of social interaction and how it's going to go and how embarrassing it could be. And, to get to this point, now we're not embarrassed about anything. So
so true. But I think you're absolutely right. And sometimes they don't have those role models.
Right.
They're counting on teachers to be that role model for them.
And we had a video a while ago of how teachers changed your life at the office to see. And that was the most popular answer, I'd say, was that someone mentored them and kind of brought them out from the shell that they knew and come from. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it got them out of that and kind of taught them how to be. So definitely we need that.
Yes.
So I'm glad they're back and
Me too.
and you're helping with that.
Yes. Teaching them to be learning who they are.
It's awesome.
And to be totally comfortable with that, because they are such amazing kids out there.
And in this brand new world with a focus on who you really are, that's awesome that you're focusing on it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gosh. And I love it. It's just that human connection. And one of the passion projects that I'm working on this year is home visits.
Okay.
So really getting to know the families.
Okay.
What is your story? Everyone has a story.
Yes,
And
definitely.
And it makes you who you are,
and that's what the show's all about. And I love it.
And it makes you who you are. And so that's been my thing this year. Like, what's your story? And stopping to take time for the kids' stories and the family stories.
So you're actually going to homes for that reason.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I know. So we're going to start. We're going to start actually doing the visits. And I went to a conference over the summer and I met an amazing teacher who she was high school. English teacher from Denver who had her students start podcasts during the pandemic.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that media part was so important. So I'm going to start seeing if with the family's permission, of course, if they'll let us record and then start getting their stories out.
Definitely.
And then I thought having the students maybe interview their families.
Yes.
Getting their perspective on and giving and getting their perspective on
that would be awesome, because they don't know, the kids often don't know the parents' stories either.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
So powerful.
Or their history. That's a big one with me. Like family history.
Right.
Like learn those things while you can.
Yes.
Awesome. So that kind of takes the place of, I remember open houses back in the day, and that was Pennsylvania. So it was small town. Everybody got the chance to talk to the teachers and get to know them. But I often think about that here in the city. I love city living, but there's just so many people in those situations that during an open house, I'm sure they don't get all the time they need. Yeah. So that's awesome that you're implementing that. That's really cool.
We foster a lot of opportunities.
That's crazy. I love it.
For that. I know. I'm so excited too. Like I said, it's a passion project of mine. We're just going to launch it this year and see where it takes us. So. And
then in turn, so that was the biggest challenge for teachers. Is it kind of hand in hand with what the biggest challenge for kids is? What is their challenge? It's the same.
I think
it's all comes to behavior and connection.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think, we had talked a little bit about the technology before. It has been so amazing. If a child is sick for a day or two, they now have a Chromebook.
Oh, that's
that
cool.
They can be connected with the teacher. They can be, keeping up on learning, things like that. But along with it comes, we are in this whole new world with social media and kids connecting that way, which I love my social media. I am not knocking it at all, but I just feel like we need to take that time to show kids how to use it responsibly and positively.
Definitely.
It can be such a positive influence. And I really want kids to focus in on that, using it, for good.
Is there anything parents can help with? Are they doing what they need to, or anything you tell them?
Yes. Parents are really trying. I just, be monitoring your kids, be peeking over their shoulders. I have two daughters. They're 21 and 17, and I troll them all the time.
You're still trolling.
Just be involved, know what they're doing. Because there are times when something has come up and I talk to a parent, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Be on their social media.
Which is that's a full-time job there. I mean, it's a full-time job being a parent, but then they've got to monitor every internet interaction because there's a lot. That's a whole
it just
lot.
Adds another, and I think limit it, right?
Yeah,
focus on that one-to-one connection, what you're doing with your kids. Oh my gosh, that nighttime, that bedtime story. Yes. Go back to that.
Yeah, real actual books. I'm still a fan.
I know. I am too. I keep a lot of books on my phone because it's easy. Yes. But oh my gosh, there's nothing like having that book in your hand.
It takes your brain somewhere else. There's something different. I'm sure there's some, got to get a scientist on here to talk about books, but I'm sure there's some kind of step in the brain that just does something differently. I don't know, because it does with me. Like even digitally reading does not do the same as a
Right.
paper book.
Yes.
It's almost therapeutic.
Yes. And what I love too with this new literacy curriculum that the district has, and the teachers have said it, oh my gosh, these kids, they have their own book. It's consumable, so the district will replace it each year. And there are built-in margins where the kids are annotating.
Oh, wow.
and taking
Okay.
notes.
Cool.
And I thought, oh my
That's
gosh,
good.
this is like old school stuff, right? Old is new again.
But it's old new again. Exactly.
But it's just so powerful to have kids connecting with their thinking, what they're, as they're reading. And like you said, you just,
It's something.
Because I belong to a book club, and every time I start a new book, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop and do my notes, my digital notes. And then I just get going. I'm like, but it's just, there's nothing like picking up that pencil and paper and jotting down your thoughts, right?
Yes. And it's another tool in the tool box of learning that everything or something, there's more out there in the world than what might be in their world.
Yes.
Because that was really big for me. It was growing up in small town PA, could not find anybody like me. And then you find the books and they're like really great with people, and you connect with people that way too. So it's another, even with the internet, you still don't make that connection to see that, wow, someone really is on their level and thinks just like them, and they're not alone, which is so important.
Oh gosh, I'm so glad you said that. I just love that. It's true. Books are that universal. And it doesn't matter what language they're in.
Exactly.
They have that. They just unite
that
us.
connection.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, we always ask, what does affordable housing mean to you? As with neighborhood housing, we are an affordable housing financial literacy nonprofit. So we like to get the word out that affordable housing often is not what people think it is.
Yeah. Well, I will give you my personal story. I am a single mom. Been raising my two girls pretty much on my own for the last 5 years. So affordable housing, to me, is that safe space that you can come home to at the end of the day. You're with friends or family or doing your hobbies, and you don't need to worry about anything else. Because I remember that, summertime's coming. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I know the electricity bill is going to be a little bit higher. Maybe the mortgage rates are fluctuating. Am I going to have to pay more this month? Or conversely, in the wintertime, the gas bill is going to be a little bit higher, kind of always thinking about how am I going to meter this out? I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And I remember, gosh, even my first couple of years into administration, I still tutored because I always had that thought of like, oh my gosh, I need to make sure. I just need to make sure. So, and then kids playing sports.
Yes.
Those aren't cheap anymore.
Yes.
Gosh, my youngest daughter cross-competed in competitive cheer.
Okay.
So that means we travel.
There's a lot of stuff there, a lot of travel, uniforms, all the things.
Oh my gosh, the makeup, the hair.
Okay, so you are the story. You are the affordable housing story that we talk about, is because that's one of the samples, is the single mom, several kids, a teacher that all fills those categories. That's affordable housing.
It is. And it's being able to come home, just breathe that sigh of relief.
You've got
not
the
worry
space.
about the what ifs.
Yes. I love that. Perfect definition.
Oh,
thank you.
I get my gold star.
You do. Yes. Teaching gold star. Yes. Absolutely. And our standard question here on Block by Block is, if you had one wish for the world, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I guess I have to give the teacher's answer.
Okay.
I would say a book, but I would say a library in every child's hands. Awesome.
And you have a good library over there?
We do. Awesome. We have an amazing librarian.
Okay.
We have a great library. And another, I am so excited. It was funny, towards the end of last year, I believe it was through we're a Title I school, and I believe it was through Title I, there was extra funding that came through. So
amazing.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the school year, and we're like, kind of materials are bought. What do we do? And they had suggested, they're like, well, some schools are buying classroom libraries. Okay. So we did that. So it ended up being about an extra 3 till we got ordered everything and divided it out. My librarian rounded up a team of volunteers to create these classroom libraries, divide all the books. Cool. They're leveled by reading level. Each teacher got about 300 books, like novels.
Love it.
to be used in the classroom for the kids.
It's amazing. Do they still have library time where they just go and check things out? They check it out and stuff?
Yes, they do. Okay. So library is also a special. So we have, when they go to library, music, art, PE, we have a STEM as well, science and technology. So once every 6 days, they actually go to the library. They have a library lesson. They get to check out books then. Yeah, and then the librarian also has free periods throughout the day where kids are able to go if it works into the schedule.
Well, you sparked a memory. Like people say their favorite teachers and all that. I actually had a favorite librarian in elementary school that I still remember that was actually impactful to me because she encouraged me to check out other books than, and what was I interested in and all that. Right. So the librarians are important too.
Oh my gosh.
So
one of the best. She just...
Awesome.
Everything books. And I remember the reading pit, like in my elementary school, we had a reading pit. So when we would go to the library, you would go in and get comfortable in the pit and hear your story. And,
exactly. And just because I'm curious, and I'm an artist myself as well, how is the arts program? Because I hear good and bad things that arts are being taken out of schools. Yeah. Tell me about that.
So I feel very fortunate at my school. I have a strong specialist team.
Amazing.
We actually do. You'll have to come by in the spring because my specialist team does an Arts Alive Day.
Okay.
And so they're starting to organize it now. So we have a day dedicated to the arts. So kids will it's almost like, remember the old field days? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that, but each rotation is something to do with the arts, music, arts, science and technology. Okay. So I feel very fortunate.
Well, that makes me feel better.
And that's good. And that's something it's a cornerstone of our school.
Definitely.
Those getting kids to explore, talking about who they are, right?
Yes.
So many, we have artists, we have scientists, and they just don't know it yet.
Love it.
So
that's good. And that kind of encourages them in high school because I've heard high school can get really tough, especially with behavior and attention spans and everything else. So you're setting the foundation there. So
absolutely.
Thank you for setting the foundation.
Oh, that's my pleasure. It's my pleasure and my passion. So
amazing. Good to know. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. And before we go, we should share the big announcement.
Yes, let's do it.
The big announcement is coming up in December. You have graciously welcomed Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada back to Dondero Elementary for our Winter Wonderland 4.0.
Yay! We're so excited.
We are in the planning stages right now, so there'll be more information on our website, mynhssn.org. But we'll be giving food, blankets, some other supplies, some other surprises to the community. So if you're listening, visit our website for more. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my gosh, we are so honored to be chosen.
It's almost Christmas.
What? And it's going to be here so fast.
Exactly.
So fast.
As we talked about in the last episode, that's like when you plan so much, it just goes. Time just flies. It does. And for anybody interested in Dondero Elementary, you're in the Spring Valley area, right?
We are.
Okay. Where can they go to find out more about, or who do they contact if they so desire?
Absolutely. So our website, let me get it right, is www.donderodolphins.org.
Oh yeah, you got the dolphins over there.
Yes, we are the dolphins. And so our there's an email option there. So all those emails come directly to me.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
Don't
You're so involved.
To reach out. Just reach out and say hi.
Thank you so much, Terri.
Oh, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to share all the wonderful things that really are happening in education.
We appreciate you taking the time, and I'm glad to hear that so many good things are happening in education. Special thanks for the NHSS broadcast studio goes to US Bank and all of our sponsor supporters, especially you, the listeners. Subscribe to us whenever, wherever you get your podcasts, like, follow, share, and of course, visit mynhssn.org for more about us. Until next time, thanks again.
And go read a book.
Yes.